It's time for a screaming lesson. Name's Poppet, and I'm from the Nightfall server. My crew is called Puppeteer, so if you're ever interested in joining, come check us out sometime. That being said, I was going to update you guys real quick on why I've been gone for so long. It has to do with healing my throat and clearing out a lot of gunk from it, as well as dealing with scar tissue. But it's gotten a lot better to the point that I can actually speak and not have to constantly struggle with breathing or spitting out or coughing up anything. So I did want to get into the story, and honestly, let's get to that. So I am on a theory that our character was not supposed to be there at the beginning, traveling through the quarantine zone. It's possible that the other person was the one who was sent from Hykros, and our character was the one who was a stowaway, or like sneaking on board, basically. Only to eventually get caught, and the other person is just kind of forced to go with it, you know? They are pretty close up until the split up, so it kind of shows that they are looking after you, but they're also trying to keep track of their own mission and do their own thing, and you're just kind of like helping in a little bit or pitching in. They do seem to have the basics of fighting understood, but they're not really carrying a weapon for a situation that requires a weapon at all times. And they don't seem to have any relics or any special skills or anything up until later on. So it kind of shows that this character is just a noob. Like, not only are we a noob, but the character was not supposed to be there, was not prepared for the situation. They were even shocked to see the aberrants there, while the other person was more like, all right, let's get out of here, let's go, we gotta get out of here, let's go. And your character is, kind of understood about that situation, but it's kind of interesting because they end up beating on their suppressor, which you find later on in the game to be the most high valued item that these guys really focus on, because it suppresses the radiation, but your character is beating on it at the beginning, trying to make it work as if it's, a fucking TV from some time ago. So your character isn't really prepared, but they also don't understand how things are supposed to work like they should. So if they were meant to be there, if they were the ones that were supposed to be sent from Hykros, they would have at least carried a weapon. They would have understood that aberrants could show up at any time and stuff like that. I also noticed that our character reacts to these temperatures pretty normally. Like, people like Franz, you'll be running in the cold, he's not really shivering. Your character is shivering, even though, yeah, he is an NPC. He should be at least, reactant to the changing temperatures. So he's more experienced with the changing climates than your character is, because they're experiencing cold, they're experiencing heat, and stuff like that, and it's kind of new to them. They're probably just used to one temperature setting, one area. So I'm thinking that maybe our character is like a sibling of the other person that was actually sent from Hykros, and that's why we snuck on board, being like, I can protect you, or I can totes help, and stuff like that. Not only that, but the bad guys only noticed someone, not people, someone. So I'm thinking that maybe it was our other sibling who triggered them and set off an alarm or whatever. We probably weren't even the ones who set it off, but it is because that we weren't supposed to be there that the situation ended up getting a little bit more confusing. Now, it is kind of weird that our character is held to such a very high standard, even though they've only done so much to receive the Hykros title and executioner and stuff like that. I think it's because our character was a sibling of the other person that we are held to an equally high standard, because if we look at the beginning of the game, Shirley has fucked up a ton of times, and Mia is sitting there calling her out, and she's still held to a high standard. She's still respected, and I think it's mostly to do with, being related to Zeke. And Zeke has done, exceptional or extraordinarily well in considering that they are related. It kind of does make sense that she's held to that standard, but it also would make sense that our character is equally held to a high standard, even though we weren't the ones who were originally from Hykros. Now, the reason why we don't really remember them as a sibling or remember them at all is because if Hykros has the power to fuck with Huma and her brain and all these other simulacras, what's it to put it past them to keep us from remembering them so they can continuously use us instead? Since the other person is now lost, it is now up to us to fill in. But it's probably easier without the emotional attachment and without us trying to, consistently go back for that. We're just trying to regain memory, not try to regain memory, not try to regain family, not trying to regain all these complicated relationships. It's just work related right now. Like, they just want to regain memory. That's it. They don't know about all these other connections that they could have. And so it's probably easier that high growth just prevents you from remembering than it would be to have you remember and go through a whole nother type of trauma, basically. As long as you are left in the dark, but related to them, they can hold you to a high standard, and you're probably going to be more likely inclined to take the promotions and job offers because you just want to recover your amnesia and recover your memory. And they want to use that. Now, unlike before, where I was kind of scattering the story bits, I want to start from the very beginning of the cutscenes, dissect through those, and then we can go through the simulacra chats and start going through all of those, because they are extending the game a bit more, so there's a little bit more cutscenes to work with, and there's also a little bit more things to dissect. So let's have some more fun with that. Thank you guys so much for watching. Sweet nightmares.